And I think that's what we're lacking in America right now, that you don't hold their opinions to their characters. It is like, it's mere thoughts, it's mere opinion. That does not mean the person who got that thought is evil or dumbest person in the world. Tons of people, literally tons of people saying actually America is as bad as North Korea or even worse than North Korea. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to talk about top 3 shocking things that I found when I came to the West. More specifically, I would say the USA. Number 1, division. It was very hard to understand coming from North Korea, right? I mean, because in North Korea, we do not have a division between people. I mean, there is a distrust. You know that someone might be spying on you for sure, but there isn't like people hating each other for the political views that people have. I think maybe because we are not even allowed to form a political view, that is why there was really no division in people. We were very proud of being with our people. We really liked our people, but it was also brainwashing to the regime, saying we are like Kim Il-sung, the first Kim's people. In North Korea, there's no like, they don't say like we are Asians. They say we are Kim Il-sung people. That's like, that was our race. But when I came to America, I was really surprised how much division between people in this country had based on their political views. Even though it was really, surprising for me. I went to school in New York and it was liberal arts school. And it was like when I went into class and professors were saying, oh, today we are going to talk about, read this kind of book. If you don't feel comfortable, you can just leave. Or they were saying like, you can just go if it's gonna hurt your feelings and offend you. And I was like, wow. I did not know what to think about it. And at some cases, even like professors were saying in advance, emailing us like, oh, we're gonna talk about this subject next week. The material gonna have this kind of topics. Like, for instance, like about the rape that people experience, or race, or any kind of thing. I was a rape victim. I had a lot of things that relate to me, but I never thought as an intellectual thinker that I would stop thinking about things because, it might bring out some bad feelings. But because it was like, for me, like, I understood like freedom of speech and all this kind of discussion, somehow I thought it was a very healthy thing to have. And now I'm already so scared that by even saying this kind of thing, I'm gonna offend so many people and they're gonna hate me. And that was like precisely what I felt, that if someone disagrees with you politically, either you're stupid or you're evil. That's what I felt like. There are two different like these groups, and the other one thinks the other people are really stupid and destructive, and the other people think they are just like evil monsters and greedy people. And it is quite confusing even for me to learn about democracy and freedom till this moment, that how do we have all different kinds of healthy ideas, but we still don't get attacked for what we think is right, because thinking should be free without any judgment. Unless you believe that you should kill a bunch of people and rape a bunch of people, that is definitely not allowed. But in the method of how we achieve more just and freer society should be allowed for people to have many variations of thinking. But having different thoughts was a core center of this division. I think that is still like shocks me every day, and I'm struggling too hard to map around my head in this division issue. So number 2, that would be, as believe it or not, a lot of Americans hate America, the USA. So when not in North Korea, I thought, of course, America was the most like greedy, worst, corrupt, capitalist, dirty world, you know, the monster people living here. But when I came in China and South Korea, you know, what I thought that then was like America was really the leader of this free world, that this country is a beacon of light of this world. I thought this country was land of justice and freedom, and it was really humanity's hope. And of course I knew there were problems with America for sure, but that doesn't mean any country in this earth is perfect. No country is perfect, nobody is perfect. But still, with all those things, you know, account the problems that America had and have right now, that doesn't mean I never in my wildest dream that America was, you know, almost like as bad as North Korea. But tons of people, literally tons of people saying actually America is as bad as North Korea or even worse than North Korea. And just like I'm like, just my heart like just sank. How you know, this kind of, I don't want to say delusion, but it was some major, you know, like misunderstanding, or I mean, lightly put it, it was shocking for me to hear that, you know, and meet people that Americans saying, oh, America is the worst country and this country should go away or be destroyed and like reset up. I was like, you know, it really studying in Colombia made me to really just hearing these people, and I was like, oh wow, I mean, I somehow thought I came to the best country in the world out of North Korea, and suddenly a lot of people think this was the worst country. And it was kind of sad too, because for me and for a lot of people who are oppressed, America is a paradise. This is the land of justice. And it was really, you know, I was speechless. Like, what do I say? Like, do I ask them, why don't you just go to North Korea and just stay there, not even your lifetime, just stay there 1 month. Once you come out, you will probably never complain about most of things. That's what I think. But you know, I cannot just tell them about it. I have to be sympathetic with their views, and that does not mean I think the people who have those views are, you know, stupid or evil. I think I respect those views, and I think that's what we are lacking in America right now, that, you know, you don't hold their opinions to their characters. It is like, it's mere thoughts, it's mere opinion. That does not mean the person who got that thought is evil or, you know, dumbest person in the world. So number 3, people think in America this is the most racist country. And you know, I'm coming from very homogeneous country. North Korea bans, the regime bans international marriage. So I never seen people with biracial children. Like, my son is biracial, he's like half white, half North Korean. And I still say that is a miracle. Like, only freedom, only in free country that is possible, being a half North Korean, being half American. In North Korea, that I would be, you know, sentenced to execution. And my son, my husband, everybody will do that. Of course, it's not allowed. And I went to South Korea as a North Korean, and South Korea and North Korea has thousands of years of shared history. But even then, I went to South Korea, I looked like them, I spoke their perfect Korean to them, but because I had this tiny accent that I still can get rid of, not even in my entire conversation, like few words that I misspoke, that was the reason for them to look down upon me and discriminate me. And in America right now, as you see, like, I completely speak with broken English. Like, my grammar doesn't make sense, my pronunciation is not great, none makes sense, but still people do not make fun of me because I do not speak good English here. And I think language's purpose is communicating to help people to understand what the other person is saying. But in Korea, that wasn't enough that I was fluent and able to communicate my thoughts. I had to speak exactly 100% like South Koreans, act like South Koreans. And in South Korea, it turns out they were not just only discriminating North Koreans, they were discriminating people from Vietnam, China, I mean everywhere. And they even discriminate people from different provinces within South Korea. And that's like what I felt like whole entire 5 years of my stay in South Korea. And of course in China I was discriminated. And in Mongolia as well, that few months there. So when I came to America, I felt, I never felt more comfortable being who I am, coming from where I am from, like how I speak, how I look, how I present myself. I felt like people were so inclusive. Like in South Korea, if I get in a taxi, as soon as I say like, oh, I'm gonna go this part, it's like, where are you from? And if I tell them I'm North Korean, and they start like lecturing me and like telling me all sorts of like bad things. Even going to taking a taxi, or like I go to like market with my mom and try to buy clothes in a shop, and the lady completely treat us like a trash because we speak with northern accent. And in America, like none that happened. Like no matter, even if I couldn't speak English that well, people were like respectful because I was simply a human like themselves. And again, that does not mean there is no discrimination. I felt a few discriminations too, and not like the extent that I felt in South Korea, that I felt like I had to lie to everyone that I was South Korean. I wanted to change every in my cell, in my body to be South Korean so I would fit into that word. But in America, I didn't feel any of it. I felt a few displeasant, like, not very pleasant interactions. But this country is way, by far the most inclusive, one of the most inclusive country I've ever experienced. And there are so many great countries I know, and I do think America is one of the greatest countries in human history and in the world. I think lastly, what I just found quite interesting is that people wanted to interpret things like that happened like 100 years ago or 50 years ago, even 30 years ago, to our current moral standard. And Korea had a slavery. Koreans, they made their own people slaves, and we had a caste system, and so many Asian other countries had that too. And also, how they tortured, how they treated women, and how they treated like minority, all of it was of course nothing compared to how they supposed to treat humans nowadays. But because we treat people differently these days, and we expect them to be acted completely differently hundreds years ago or 50 years ago, to me was, I don't think my ancestors were monsters because they had different like moral codes. I think that is why we are fighting all these causes right now to, becoming more civilized, becoming advanced, race, advanced humanity altogether. And this has been the result of all that struggle that our ancestors fought for this, for us to have this like open dialogue, to respect minority, respect, diversity, all of it. And even like thinking of this subject was kind of comfortable. I like by just recording this video right now, I'm just thinking, oh my god, I'm gonna be done if I post this video. I will be so done. I will be just doomed for the rest of my career as a public figure, as a human rights activist. But the reason why I'm doing this is that I might be wrong. I might completely change my mind next year, and like what I said was bad or what I said was wrong. But that does not mean I'm not gonna say it today, because I have this freedom of speech and I have right to change my mind. And I should be always willing to change my mind and be open-minded, because that is what progress is. We do speak out our thoughts without fear. That is the difference with North Korea. When you fear what you speak, it becomes like North Korea. No one speaks out. All they do is becoming slaves to this terror of a dictator. But I think what I am just constantly feeling is I'm so subconscious, like, am I speaking this right? Like, am I offending anyone? And I mean, it is good to not to offend anyone and be kind and say things that is only hurtful, but still sometimes, you do have your opinions, and having opinions is not a crime. And so if you do not choose to follow me after this, I will be okay. And I think if you're remaining following me after this video, I really hope that we continue our healthy discussion of how do we continue to grow as a society, as people, and how do we actually make a better world for our children. Because I'm a mother, I have responsibility to guard this democracy and freedom that I took advantage of. Without this freedom, how do I become who I am, and how do you even see me, how do you even get to know me, and how do I get to even have anything? And I do want my son to have the same freedom that I found when I came to America. And I think that is something we can strive together and to achieve that dream all together. So thank you again for listening to my very mumbling, this kind of like talk with complete broken English, and not judging me for who I am, how I speak, how I look, and what kind of opinions I have, most of all. And I do know that we are better than being divided and hating each other. And no matter what you think of me, I love you all and I respect you all. So see you next time. Bye.